Welcome back. You're watching Over the Hump, and today we're looking back to move forward and trying to turn negatives into positives.
Not always an easy thing to do, but helping us to talk about this today is wellness expert and New York Times bestselling author who says her diagnosis with a life-threatening illness was actually the best thing that ever happened to her.
Can you imagine?
No. Her latest book is called Entangled in Darkness, Seeing the Light. Please give a warm welcome to Deborah King. Welcome. It's so good to see you, Deborah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. You know, prior to becoming a health and wellness expert, you were a successful lawyer. What was your life like then?
Well, at the time, I thought it was great, but it was a bit of a roller coaster. I remember being very interested in my appearance, in winning. In fact, I was just barely hanging on, surviving. I didn't realize that, though, until I got this cancer diagnosis.
And tell us about the diagnosis itself.
Well, I was just reeling the day I heard it. I mean, I was so surprised. I thought I was healthy and happy. I was band-aiding all of my feelings, though, with, in my case, alcohol. That was my drug of choice. And so I was really surprised to find out I had cancer. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, well, I think most people don't, right? And so when you get devastating news like that on top of alcoholism, that was almost like a double whammy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So, it's so common that when people find a diagnosis, they reach for alcohol or drugs. What made you seek treatment that was holistic or alternative to conventional?
Well, before I sought treatment, I decided what I needed was clarity. So the first thing I did was go to a 12-step program. I went to AA. It seemed like a perfect fit for me. And I wasn't there long. It's such a spiritual place, all 12-step programs. I really did start to think more clearly, and the next thing I did actually was learn to meditate. That gave me even more clarity.
I do too.
I think it's very important.
Yes, and then I realized the thing to do was to sit down with my doctors, buy some time. They gave it to me. It's very important that you work with your physicians, with a serious illness.
That's what I was going to ask you, because patients that I know that use alternative methods, and I hate saying alternative on this network because it's not an alternative, but just for the sake of conventional medicine, did you use your conventional hematology oncologist along with the other approaches when you were discovering what plan to take?
I met with them and I said, can I do some alternative things here, will I be endangering myself? And they said, no, this is a fairly slow growing, you've got some time. But I kept them on board.
Good. What kind of cancer were you diagnosed with?
I had cervical cancer. And Lori, at the time, the treatment was pretty severe. The surgery was radical. And I wanted to avoid it if at all possible.
That's interesting. So it was probably in the earlier stages, do you think? Or did they, because they gave you some license to explore other alternatives?
It was evidently a kind of a medium stage.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
And eventually, you became a spiritual teacher, which is the interesting part of this. You went from a lawyer suffering from alcoholism to getting a cancer diagnosis to becoming a spiritual teacher. How did that evolution happen?
And an energy healer.
Wow.
Let's not forget that.
A real 180.
Really?
Yeah, very much so. So how did that all evolve?
Well, and it doesn't happen instantly, of course. In fact, it was at least 6 months that I was meditating and doing a lot of really proactive things, seeking a lot of alternative solutions, including energy healing, and I had a remission. I had an amazing remission.
Wow. And do you think it's because of the holistic healing that you were undergoing?
Oh, I know it was.
How would you describe that sort of healing for people who may not be familiar with it?
Well, the word whole, it means the whole body, the whole spirit, your emotions. It's the whole package. And healing is always a multi-step affair. We wish it were just, the magic bullet thing, but it just doesn't seem to happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anything really is, and especially when you're dealing with cancer. So how does energy healing work? I mean, how did it work for you?
Well, here's a kind of a simple explanation. Before you have a body, you have an energy field. You know that quantum physics now backs us up on this. It's really age-old knowledge from thousands of years ago, but we're just kind of rediscovering it now.
It's called like personal space.
Well, you have an actual field. An actual field that you can, for a moment, think you're sitting inside of, and it precedes the existence of your body. Your body grows out of your field. So when there's something wrong with your body, one of the best ways to try to change it is to change the field, to balance, charge, or otherwise clear blockages out of the
And
field.
how do you begin to do that? When I hear that, I think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to change my field. So what are some things that people can do to do that?
Well, your field's changing every minute. You know, every emotion we have changes our field. Our field is a result of our emotions. So,
And how specifically does the energy affect the cancer cells? I mean, were you suspicious at the time when you first heard this, or were you very open to the possibility that this could work?
oh no,
Because
I was a
just
lawyer.
to hearing it, yeah, of course.
I was going to say,
skeptical.
that's very
Very
antithetical
skeptical.
to everything that you probably believed in.
Yeah, totally skeptical. I'm sure that my alternative practitioners just hated seeing me come in because I would grill them and want evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
evidence-based.
Now, from your interactions with people who are looking to turn negatives into positives, and of course that is the focus of our show today, what do you think is the most common barrier for people?
You know, I think the most common one is limiting beliefs. You know, we take them on from our caregivers, our family. You know, Dad teaches us, for example, that money's scarce, so the next thing we know, that's our mindset and that's what we create. Or Mom may teach us that, wow, she's never treated equally at work, so we assume we're a woman, we won't be either. You know, we take these limiting beliefs and we create our own life.
But we need to come from a place of abundance, right? Isn't that more helpful?
It is.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I do with people is, with gentle counseling, I help them discard their limiting beliefs. Help them find them, because first of all, we don't usually know we have them.
Now, on your
And then
website,
get-
you mentioned like a checklist. Is that sort of like what you're talking about now with this limiting beliefs? Do you go through a mental checklist of things
You know,
you can do?
I do, Frank. And one of the things that I've noticed is that if you zero in on the chakras, now we talked about the energy field, but there's a focal point, there's a set of chakras in the field. Just think of them as the main focal point of energy in your field. And there's just some key things. So for example, if you are low on energy, you might be suspicious that your first chakra, isn't working as optimally as you'd like it to, and I'd suggest that you go outside, get an infusion of nature.
Sunlight.
Literally, get sun, get that
Yeah,
vitamin D.
Right.
Final question before we unfortunately have to let you go. When you reflect on your past, how does it help you in the present?
Very good.
I think it does. That's a great question, because our history has brought us where we are, and so it's not a matter of dwelling on it or feeling any shame or blame. I'm big about moving on, but I think we have to own what happens to us, and then we can move on.
Yeah, and we agree. She can be in the club.
Oh yes, gotta move on. Yeah,
The
You
Move
gotta
On
move
Club.
The
Move on,
Club.
that's right.
And just charge up those chakras.
yes. I'm gonna charge mine as soon as we're done. Actually, I'm charging right now. All right, Deborah King, best-selling author. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for coming.
All the best
very
for
much for
continued
having me.
success
Good
for
luck,
you.
yeah.
Coming up, we're going to talk about the tools you need to help you get over your past and move forward into a calm and happy place. All that is when we come back.